let me introduce him first. Samir Shukla comes with a huge experience in the consulting and the manufacturing. Mr. Samir is currently working innovation leader for Oracle. He comes with manufacturing background where he comes with a manufacturing background where he was earlier involved in industrial manufacturing and new products formulation. Mr. Shukla has vast experience in public sector, telecommunications, banking, and finance and automotive segment. In his current role, Mr. Shukla drive the innovation culture through a variety of collaborative engagement and helps organizations and governments in their digital transformation journey. Mr. Shukla, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. So first of all, I would like to thank everyone here. I'm very excited that I'm present here and sharing my thoughts on this topic of innovation. Before I start a presentation, let's set some ground rules, right? Let's have a conversational kind of approach here where we talk. And if you have any questions, you can stop me and we will discuss about that, right? That is how a culture of innovation is built, right? But before I jump into my deck, let me just start sharing it and let me know once you are able to see this. Give me a second. I hope you guys are able to see this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Clearly.
Wonderful. Okay. So before I start, let me tell you a story. And why I want to start with a story so that let people feel free and, they start posting questions. As a kid, we all have studied about the ways new things are formulated. We have read about Alexander Fleming and how penicillin revolutionized, right, and how it helped during World War I and to the entire world population, right? So these kind of innovations are generally, you are not planning it. These are some kind of serendipity. Now, when we talk about serendipity itself, it has, though it's an English word, but if you translate it and if you go deep into that, you will realize that it takes its name from Serendip, which is in Sanskrit, the current Sri Lanka, right? So there is a very interesting story which I'll leave it to you to explore. That is the three princes of Serendip, right? So which basically from where this word serendipity has come. Now, innovations happens all around us, right? What we need to be is very observant of how things are changing, how the things are happening. Let me give you an example. I am currently based out of Bangalore. In breakfast morning, I had idli and sambar, which is a staple here, along with filter coffee. So like in northern part of India, we generally go for instant coffee. Here, people prefer filter coffee, right? Along with sambar or idli or dosa. Now, when I was trying to inquire about or understand about how innovation has impacted our food habits, similarly, at that point of time, the sambar thing came, and when I was researching on how this dish itself got evolved, so there's a very interesting story, and that story is when Sambhaji, who was ruling Maharashtra, current Maharashtra, he went to Tanjore to meet. So there is a place in Uttar Pradesh that is there's a university also, Chhatrapati Sahuji Maharaj. I'm not sure many people would be knowing it, right? It's on the name of Sahuji Maharaj. So when he went there, this guy asked his chef to prepare something which is basically, which helps which basically, incites or, Sambhaji Maharaj. So what he did was, when he prepared that, instead of adding curd, he added tamarind powder or tamarind paste, right? And that's how this sambar came. Its real name is Sambhaji's Ahar. And that's how, so what we see is things happening all around us. There are a lot many post-its on backside of me. That is also a part of such kind of innovation. Now, innovation is in the spirit, but the question is, when we have an innovation, or when we have an idea, when we have a innovating product, or when we have a service, or when we innovate anything, how we can take it to the market. And that is will be the topic of today's discussion, that how innovation, prototype, validation, and converting that innovation into a startup. Now, that is a very big journey. And journey is challenging, because there are a lot many ideas that die at a very nascent state, that even don't take into the realization phase. So when we have these kind of challenges, what are the ways in which we can, have this thing in place, where we take an idea, a journey, and take it to a place where we can encash it, because everything has a motive of business, and that is why we are having this session. With this, I'll start my discussion. And if you have any doubt, stop me. Feel free to stop me. You can ask your questions in Hindi and English, but I will be responding mostly in English, because of the better benefit or greater benefit of all the people here. Now, when we say about innovation, let's not get confused with as invention. Innovation has more in-depth meaning than just invention. You can invent a product, you can invent a service, but to take it to realization, so that you can reap monetary benefits or other kind of benefits, there's a huge journey that needs to do, and that is what is innovation all about, right? So we all have heard about Post-it. We all use it, in fact, in our daily life, right? So there are certain inventions. You intend to do it in terms of, like in this, the person who was trying to create it was planning to create a very fast, very quick, and very strong glue, but it failed. But even though it failed, it had a use. And that is what we need to understand, that what are the things that we can utilize from what all things we do, whether it is a success or it is a failure. If we try and create, let's say, 10 processes, 10 new services, and that's what we will see when we will come to our MVP section, how it keeps on evolving, right? It is a continuous process of building, testing, right? So the other thing, that is the other picture that you see in the mid, is innovation of a process. When Ford introduced assembly line usage, it revolutionized the entire industry, not only of automobile, but if you see McDonald's or KFC or any other kind of industries, also they have inspired all kind of industries. Now, instead of car coming or the person going to the car now comes, right? It has a huge assembly line. If you have visited any automobile company, right? And the way and the rate at which they churn out these cars is huge. So they have transformed a process, right? So first, we have seen a product that is innovated. Second, we have seen a process also that can be innovated. And then we will see, as we progress, how we can innovate in terms of positioning also, that we will see. In fact, recently, I'm not sure whether you guys are aware, there was an airline that got introduced in India, that is Akasha Airlines, right? Similarly, there are other budget airlines that has been incorporated in India, which is basically no-frill airlines, right? It gives you, and that's how they can reduce their cost. I remember there was a discussion some time back when Southwest Airline reduced one strawberry from their lunch meal, and the amount of saving that they did, right? So there are a lot many ways in which you can innovate and enhance the performance. So whether it is a process which is either to reduce the variation and waste in the entire supply chain, you can use it in, you can use innovation in a lot many ways. Now, let us go deep into, sorry, Shankar, you have any question?
I think that has been by a mistake. So,
no problem. No
okay,
problem.
you can continue, sir.
No problem. Before going into deep, what is the process about? Let's have an understanding of what people say or what book says about innovation. It is innovation is basically an act of a new experience of improving the efficacy of a process. Now, when I see experience is a very wide term here. Right? Experience can be a product experience. It can be a service experience. It can be a experience in terms of, the way in which it is addressed, right? So, and it is an act of creating a value, right? So that is what is needed. And you are taking this value to realization. And when we talk about entrepreneurship, it is a behavioral act, right? Now, it is not that once you become an entrepreneur, you will stop becoming the entrepreneur, because it is now in your mind. It is in your habits. So once a person becomes entrepreneur, he is into the groove of that, where he starts taking risks. He starts taking things, understanding things differently, right? So there are a lot of change that happens when we talk about entrepreneurship. And when we talk of I'll just go back. The risk of connecting capital to labor. So when I say labor, don't take it any offensive. Anything that is that is involved these days, or you work, whether it is a doctor or it's a human resource, we generally take it as labor, and that's why all these labor commissions and all those things are there. And when you link it with technology, it becomes entrepreneurship, right? And then we have a business. Now, business is a legal entity. That is first thing. And the objective of creating value. Now, whenever I say value creation, it has to have unless and until it creates a value, it is not a business, because there will be no stakeholders who will be interested in running that business, right? So it is a legal entity, because it will have its name, it will have its charts, it will have its GL, it will have all those ledgers, it will have as a kind of process, and there will be people who will be working for that, right? So it's a legal entity which with the objective of creating value for all the stakeholders. Now, stakeholders can be the customers, it can be the person who are working in that industry, it can be the employees of it, it can be the market that you are serving, or maybe government who's also part of it, or the society, right? So there can be a lot of stakeholders when we talk of business. Now, with this, let us see what is a traditional definition of innovation, right? So traditionally, what we used to think was innovation is basically you invent something, plus you add an applicability value of it, and when you merge these two, it becomes your innovation, right? But things have changed over a period of time, and the way the system is evolving, there are number of things that gets added to it. And let us see what all those things are. One, you need to have a problem statement. Now, when we say a problem statement, we will see how this problem statement, if you have a proper problem statement, how you can have an industry or have a business, ideation, and that you can take it to, realization. Then you have an idea, right? So first you have a problem. Let's say there is a problem of, when my father was posted in Nagaland, there was no proper water. They used to drink stream water, and sometimes there were contamination also. That happens in most of the things, right? Now, when this thing happens, right, there's a problem statement. The water is impure or unfit for drinking. How to resolve that, right? How to address that? And that basically will give you an idea of product that you will create equipment which will filter the water or whatever it is, right? And it can be various processes, right? Not only filter, there can be various processes of filter, yeah, right? You can distill the water, or you can do a reverse osmosis of it. There can be many things that you can do as part of it, right? And once you have an idea, you execute that idea to completion. And then you also tell what are the benefits of it, right? When you have it. We have seen all the examples of how Bisleri changed the market of packaged water, right? So this is all about innovation, right? Similarly, ID here, how they are packaging food, butter and all that, right? So now when we see this, there are problem statement, that is one thing, right? Now let us take an example here. There was a time when we all saw how Ford created or revolutionized that industry, and that revolutionized the entire automotive segment and the other related industries. But there is still chance of improvements, right? Innovation is always happening and keep on happening on the product. It is not going to stop. It is a continuous process. Yeah. So I think somebody needs to go on mute. All right, that's fine.
Sir, I have revoked the unmuting of participants. So now you can go ahead.
Yeah. So if somebody wants to, somebody wants to ask a question, let's
Okay.
give a hand, raise the hand there, so that we will unmute and then ask it. All right. So now what we were saying was it is a continuous process, right? There was an automotive industry that. Yes, Samir, you have raised your hand. You have a question, Samir? You can ask, please.
Yes, Samir, you can unmute yourself.
All right, I'll take that as it was by mistake, and let's proceed.
I think we will take question answer session in the end of your presentation.
Yes, sir.
We should take it at the end of your presentation.
Let's do that in that case. Let's mute everyone, and then let's take that. All right. So what we were saying was innovation is a continuous process, and there is always an invention or creation or updation of process or the product or enhancing the product that is happening. But will all innovation, the question is, will all innovation lead to an industry, or will lead to a startup, or will lead to a business? No. There has to be a benefit analysis that needs to be done based on that. Let's take an example. Let's say there is we are setting up a printer, and that printer prints through, reduces the usage of, let's say, ink from the ink tank, right? That is definitely an innovation. But will that process alone will sell in the market? No. So we need to understand what is the benefit it is going to have. So there is a cost benefit analysis that we are doing. And let's take another example. When you are converting your car into a hybrid model, or these days, there is a lot of focus on EV. Is EV going to revolutionize the market? Yes. So there is a benefit analysis that we generally do as part of this. Similarly, people have come up with a lot of terms of addressing the problem of what we earlier discussed, like providing safe, clean drinking water, right? And there are a number of brands out there. Now, what we need to realize is, let's take an example. There are, if we take an e-commerce, or let's take example of Zepto, or Blinkit, or these kind of organizations. These organizations have got multi-million dollars in the cash, right, in the coffers, so they can sustain in the market. But when we come later and we try and see how we are doing a market analysis, when we do SWOT analysis, whether launching a new idea in that existing product, in the existing market is viable or not. So that depends upon a lot of other external and internal factors. And when we come to market research, we will understand that. Okay. Now this is a very interesting thing. When we talk of innovation, right? I've taken example of NSOF matrix here, which basically talks about the product that you are going to launch in new market or existing market, or whether it is a new product or an existing product. And that is what we also do in our day-to-day lives, right? When we are working or creating a software, whether we need to launch it in India and take the same software to US market or Europe market, or we need to create or add certain specific things to address our specific needs. Like when you launch a product in European market, there are certain additional legal challenges that you need to address, right? Similarly, there are various GDPR laws. Similarly, if you are launching a tax product in India, there has to be compliance of various government laws, and these government laws are different for different industry, right? So there are many ways in which you can launch a product. Now you can launch an existing product in an existing market, which is a product development strategy, and you have a footprint of how exactly you will be enhancing the product, right? Then you have a market penetration strategy where you are launching an existing product in an existing market, and you're trying to, let's say, when I was working for a government in Africa, most of the countries have got similar kind of development structure. Either they are underdeveloped, and we were working for World Health Organization. So one product can work for multiple things, right? So there are such kind of things where you are launching a same product to a similar market, right? Similarly, you can have an existing product in a new market, right? So we have seen how cars are getting launched. So first they launch in one country, and that's how they take it to other countries, whether first to developed countries, then to developing countries, and that's how it happens, right? So, or you have a new product and to an entire new market. Now, as we move from top to bottom, or from the left side to the right side, the risk is going to increase, right? If we are definitely launching a new product in a new market, it is going to have a lot of risk, and then there are risk aversing basically strategies that you do, and that is, I mean, you might have read about joint ventures or technology transfers and all those things that you generally do as part of risk aversion process, right? Right. So now let's also look at certain prominent innovations that has happened. Now, do you see a pattern here? We have IC engine, that is internal combustion engine of automobile. We have nylon. Most of the guys you might be knowing how and it was done. Then the later part of it, how microprocessors came in, how they revolutionized the entire industry. Now, one side is your products, which is your product innovation. Then there is a process innovation, where we talk about refinery or electric arc or semiconductor foundries and all those. So these are basically process innovations. There is another third kind of innovation that is basically an enabler, right? Which can be a long distance telephony, your information technology, and how these, now let us take an example of innovation technology. We are using Zoom here, right? Now this Zoom, if we try and put that in SWOT analysis, or we try and do a port of 5 forces on this, we will see that how Zoom, Team, or Google Meet, or these kind of, even WhatsApp, right? These kind of things have challenged the industries which are non-relevant or distinctly different. So how these things have impacted the travel industry or other kind of industries. So Zoom, which is into innovation, which is basically into digital kind of thing, is competing against your travel industry or transportation industry, right? Similarly, when you use a phone, how it has challenged your watchmakers or camera makers like Sony or Nikon or Canon, right? So the competition can come from anywhere. You need to be prepared for that, and that is what is needed. That you always need to innovate yourself to stay relevant in the market, and that's what we will see when we go to the life cycle of it. Right. Now let us start with the life cycle. Now, when we start a journey of entrepreneurship, right? It is at a concept stage, and at this stage there is a founding team that comes. Founding team can be a group of friends, it can be college mates, it can be family guys, or it can be a colleague who are working together. Now, when this founding team, we have seen how Facebook was created, or how Apple got created, right? There was a team, but we have also examples where industries were created by just single person, like Microsoft. Bill Gates just created single-handedly, right? So the common thing is there's a founding team that is there, right? It could be a casual talk. Over the talk, the idea could be evolved. It can be a small coffee discussion that is happening. So what is common thing, or what is the key thing that basically helps the founding team to come up with that? And that is trust. The trust among the team members. And when you have the trust, trust alone is not going to help, because when you are in the early stage of creation of an idea or a concept, there are other factors. You will be doing many work. You will be doing many habits. You will be doing the work of maybe in the initial stage, you will be doing HR work. You will be writing the code yourself. You might, if it is a IT company, or you might be doing the selling. You might be doing all the things, right? So what is needed is complementary skills between the founding team members, right? So that there is a synergy in the market or in the team, and that will lead to our next stage. And that is, as we discussed, that the founding team dons various hats. The person will be doing the sales job, will be doing marketing, will be writing the code, or if it is a product, creating the product, fixing the bug, doing collection of money, making the presentations, even the HR, and so many so forth. There are different kind of roles that the person has to do, right? Now, once we have this founding team in place, which is based on the principle of trust and complementary skills, there is a vision that needs to be there. And these people who are the founding team need to have a vision of what they want to achieve, right? Now, this vision, which is at the early stage, has to be very broad and has to be strategic. Now, why I'm saying broad and strategic is, when we say broad, it has to have a meaning. You cannot have a vision like, I want to help the humanity. It is very broad, right? It has to be measurable. It has to be tangible. And there has to be a strategic importance of this. So let's say I want to say that I understand that there is a lot of problem in that region where you are having, in terms of agriculture, or when the agriculture produce is burned, there's huge pollution, right? Now, if you come up with a vision that when we want to create a process, we want to innovate a process, or we want to create a product which will help the reduction in pollution by, let's say, 50% or 75%, right? That kind of by doing this process. So you have a vision, you also have a timeline to it, and that is what is going to be the strategic thing. And why this is important? Because when you are taking that to the next stage, your strategic investors align to your vision, right? The vision that you have for that organization, right? So that is why you need to have a vision which is broad. You need to have a vision which is also strategic in nature, because then only you will be able to get the funding, and we will see how important is funding here. And as a startup, that is what is needed, right? Now, you have a founding team, you have a vision, that vision is common, you set up your broad and strategic vision that you will be doing. the third thing that we will be doing as part of the process is having the market gap analysis. Now, this market gap analysis is basically based on this. We see whether there are products there, whether there are services that are there, and where all we can pitch in. And that is what I was talking earlier, that let's say I want to enter, or anybody wants to enter in e-commerce space. So what they will be doing is they will be directly competing against the who's and who of market, like Blinkit or Reliance or whatever it is, right? So which have got huge coffers. They can start having promotions. They can run promotions for years, and they will force you out of the market. So what is the key thing in that particular segment or in that area where there is a gap, and you can roll it out, right? Your business idea, and that you can work on it. So you need to identify that market gap, which is very, very crucial, right? So as part of market gap analysis, you do market research, and there are either you do market research yourself, or there are various companies like Gartner, Nielsen, AC Nielsen, all these companies which basically does market research, and you can take the data and analyze or interpret it as per your requirement, right? Then you have to do a patent landscaping, which is very crucial here. So let's say you want to start a company, and that process or the product that you want to launch is already patented, right? So you need to do a patent landscaping so that you don't land into a trouble. I understand that you might also have heard that there was a very interesting or very long legal tussle that happened between Volkswagen, which is an automobile maker, and Grameen, which is into digital thing. Both had the same. They wanted to enter into same space, and when they went for the patent, they used the word mobile. So mobile in terms of automotive is different, whereas mobile in terms of a Grameen person is moving, right? So is different. So you need to be very careful of what you are going to do. And when this kind of things happen, what matters is how you have used your patent and how quickly you have realized that, how quickly you have brought that, since when you are working using that patent in the market, right? So there are a lot of important things that you need to do. Then is the competition positioning as part of your market segment, where you are going to position it, who will be your target audiences, who are your competitors, what will be your benefit if the challenge that you are facing. If you see the product competition between Hindustan Unilever and Procter and Gamble and Reckitt and Beckinsale, so all these have a very strong competitive positioning, right? So and these are big markets. So in such a scenario, what new product you will be launching, and where, in which space you will be positioning that, right? Now, other thing is, what are the features and what is the demand for that, right? As you keep on increasing the features, number of features, the cost is also going to increase. So that we need to keep in mind. And whether there is a demand for such kind of feature, that also we need to understand. If we create a camera which is having a very high pixel quality, which is you can take a shot from here to moon. Yes, it is a feature, but how many people are going to buy that, right? Whether in that case, whether your product will be successful or not, or even if it is successful, what will be the target segment of that? You cannot take that to a general market, right? You have to take it to some very specific, very niche area, maybe space research center where people can use it, right? So that is very key. Now, other is customer persona insights, right? Now, you need to, when you are doing a segmentation, you need to give to which segment or who is the target, whether it's a male, female, 40 years, what is the income group, what is the demographic, where they are staying. So all that thing you need to come into picture when you are doing that gap analysis, so that the product that you are going to launch is going to make an impact, right? And that will basically, with that, you will be able to address that particular section of that population, right? So that is what. Now, when we do a market analysis, we generally do a SWOT analysis, right? Now, first, S and W, which is your strength and weaknesses, are your internal things, whereas opportunities and threats, you don't have control over it, and these are external things. So let's take the government creates a law, right? there is suddenly they say that they will increase the taxation, right? Or they bring an additional cess, or they bring that they change the import duty, or they create any other law, right? It is going to impact you. But do you have a control over them? No. So there are certain things that you need to understand from your strength and your weakness perspective. Similarly, you also need to address your opportunities and threats. Let's say you are very good let's say the founding members are very good in technology, right? They can create a solution. A simple solution could be use of, let's say, some innovation or path-breaking technology in terms of land reforms, or how the land records are kept, right? Now that is using blockchain or a lot of other things that we can do. Similarly, you install AIs in your traffic signals, right? Where anybody who is crossing the speed is already taken, and you send basically a challan or whatever it is to the person by getting the details of it, right? Or you use technology to basically address to the threats at national level, right? So there are various things that we can do as part of user threats and weaknesses to overcome our basically the threats which we can get from the market. So as a part of market analysis, this is very key that you do your SWOT analysis. Right. Now, when we have done our market gap analysis, what next is basically a product idea that we need to give. Now, that is a very interesting thing, right? So the product idea keeps on giving feedback back to market gap analysis. So when you have a product, you take it to the market, you test it. The customer who is using it, the test segment, right, will give you a feedback on that, whether it will succeed or it will not succeed. I remember a couple of years back when Dove launched the shampoo, right? They did some test analysis in certain colleges and schools, right? They were using samples, and that's how it worked, right? You take the feedback, you use that feedback to further enhance the product and take it again to the market, and that's a continuous process that keeps on happening, right? So whenever we talk about a product idea, you can have a new product, you can launch a new product. When we talk of a product, is, let's say, Apple comes with some camera which is AI enabled, right? That is a product innovation. It can be a position innovation. We talked about no-frill airlines, right? That is in the transportation industry, in the airline industry, they have positioned themselves in a category which is based on the position, or you change the process itself, or you innovate the process, right? So that can be a process innovation. The other way can be you do a paradigm shift, right? So basically, let's say tomorrow Apple comes with a phone which is costing, let's say, 5 lakhs. People know the background of Apple. They are into innovation. They are ready to pay. They will be ready to pay at least that amount. But if, let's say, Lava or Micromax launches a product with the same in the same price range, they will not be able to do it because their paradigm is totally different, right? So these are the 4 factors where exactly you can have your product idea. Now, once you have your product idea, you need to define a mission. You have already defined your vision. Now you are coming to a mission. Now, mission is very specific in terms of it has to be achievable, right? When I say achievable, you say you have to define that this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to reduce the, let's say, carbon footprint by using this catalyst or a product or a process by 5%, 10%, right? There has to be a tangible or a thing that you can achieve. Plus, it has to be time bound. Now, when I say time bound, we'll say that this product is going to help you if you do this for 2 years or 1 year. There has to be a time definition that you need to give. Also, when you are launching your new product, that nowadays, what is happening in information technology space is people are moving away from the traditional on-prem application. That is when you have a big setup in your organization where you buy all those costly processors, your spaces, databases, and all those things. Now people are moving to a much agile way where we are moving towards cloud computing right now. Even if you use Gmail, right? All these are stored in cloud, right? With a limited space, definitely, but you can buy that, you can enhance that space, right? So where you don't have to pay for that infrastructure. So there's a huge thing, that is the shift that is happening, right? And you need to define that shift if you are entering into it in a time bound manner, right? Now, at this point of time, the concept stage is over, and we are entering into an early stage of company formation. So you have defined your vision, you have done your analysis, you know which product you are going to do, the mission statement you have done. Now you need to set up a company formation. So whenever we basically start a company, we need to understand what all processes are there when we form a company, right? Your company name has to be there with, even if we say India, it would be a Ministry of Corporate Affairs, right? So you need to have a name, you need to basically register with a name. So there are certain things that you cannot use, or there are certain specific words you should not use when you do it, like Prime Minister of India, or Indian Institute, right? Or it could be, let's say, alphanumeric kind of thing. So all those things, there are certain specific guidelines that are there, which you basically use to, start your company. Then in that company, you define the class of business that you will be doing, right? So once you have defined your class of business, there's an article of association that comes into picture, that based on these legal requirements, you register your company, and which will talk about that you need to have annual sessions, or all those legal kind of thing. And for this process, you definitely need to take a legal help to basically get it registered, right? Then you get a company identification number, and based on that identification number, you can request for digital certificate, for which you need to give your KYC, which is know your customer. And based on that, you will get your directors registered, you will get a DIN, right? Then you also need to define your place of business from where you are registering it, because all the correspondence will happen through that place, right? Then based on your class of services, you get your trade licenses. Now, when we say trade licenses more of, to save the environment or safeguard the business. Like if you are opening for a restaurant, there are certain things that you need to, take approval from Ministry of Environment. There are so many, approvals that you need to take. So you go for trade license, then you register for your PAN or GSTIN or registration, and based on this registration, right, you get an account, because it's a living entity, right? Till now, all the funding that was happening was you are paying it from your pocket. Now you have a company, so all this payment, all the money that is going to come for the company, right? Then if you are hiring people, you need to register with the Provident Fund. PF registration need to be done, and there are certain guidelines for which you need to have a PF registration. And once you have all that, you need to register your trademark, right? You might be having a domain name, you might be having a logo, you might be having, you might be having certain patents that you would be doing. So all those things you will be getting it registered, right? Similarly, your domain name. So when you have a domain, what kind of domain you want to have, .com, .in, and there can be different things that you want to have, right? Then once all this thing is done, you can start your business. So this is what, in short, was how you basically, have your company registered and then start a business, right? So we have seen, you have formed a company, then you need to create a pitch deck. Now, pitch deck is very interesting, because you will be using this deck to, raise request for, for fundings. You'll be taking it to the market, to the venture capitalists who will be funding in that, right? So once you have it, what generally happens in a pitch deck? You need to have a vision and mission, which you have already defined. You define a problem statement, what you are going to do, and this is what you are going to present to the people, right? Which market that you will be serving, what is the innovation that what is the value that you are bringing in, what is a growth projection, because you need to definitely show the growth, right? That we'll be achieving 5% growth, our revenue will be 1 million USD, whatever it is, right? So that you need to define, only then it will be done. And then you have a minimum viable funding with basically minimum viable product funding request. So you will be saying that I will be launching my first product with feature XYZ, and for this feature to launch in market, I would be needing this much amount of money. So when you have this and people who are investing, definitely they will be taking certain equity in it, which is 5% or 10%, right? So now what is happening is gradually you are losing the equity also, because you will be raising the funds, and people who will be investing, they will be definitely asking for equity, right? Then what will be your go-to-market timelines, which market you will be going, how you will be going, you will be defining all those strategies. And you also talk about your team competency, that this is my team, this is what is going to happen. I'll show you one sample kind of pitch deck that was done by Airbnb. Now this Airbnb has influenced a lot of other players also, like in India, it has influenced Oyo, right? So with this 14 slider, where they talked about what they do and a couple of other things, they raised the fund in multiple rounds. So first round, they raised some amount. So further rounds, they raise certain amount. That's how they do it. And each round, when they do it, they need to give that some part of that equity to the person or to the institution who is putting that money, right, as the investors. So this was the pitch deck. So we need to create a pitch deck accordingly. So once we have that pitch deck, now is the time when we come up with the minimum viable product, because in the pitch deck we said that we will be coming up with these features. So now that minimum viable product is there up, you create that. So when we talk about minimum viable product, we need to keep certain things in mind, what exactly we are going to do. And when we say minimum viable product, what is the customer that is going to see? If you see the first example, when the person is seeing the first and the second and the third, customer is not getting any idea what this product is all about. Whereas in the second scenario, it is a transportation kind of thing that we will be building. We will start with a skate, then with a scooter, then whatever it is, right? So the customer need to get the value, and the value has to be incremental. So if you launch a product which doesn't provide any value, it is not going to help. People are not going to use it, right? So it needs to have a feature list, the measures for efficacy, the certifications, which is very important, whether it is an internal certification that you would be doing. There are certain bodies that will give you certification. And why this certification is needed? Because it will give you a authority. It will give you a genuinity in the market that this product is competitive, this product is good. And based on that process, you identify certain intellectual properties, that this is something unique and this is how we can add value, and what is going to be the future roadmap of it. If I talked about cloud computing, so what is happening in cloud computing is features are released at regular intervals. Might be it can be quarterly, it can be a half yearly, or it can be annual process. But there is a set of roadmap that is defined, and based on that features, people generally buy it. And same is with automobile, right? When automobile, they say that when they will be launching the new version, they will be adding a couple of bags, airbags. They will be adding some security features. They will be adding internet inside the car, or whatever it is, or it can be an IoT enabled device where after every 1 lakh kilometers you travel, it will automatically create a signal. It will understand the things. It will help you in parking. So all those kind of product roadmap are added as part of your product roadmap, right? Now let us, the fundamental question that everybody should ask when the person is thinking of an idea or launching a company is why the product should exist. Because we feel that our product is the best product, but the real test happens in the market when you take that product to the customer who is intended to use it. So you should ask that why that product should exist. What is the value that product is adding, right? What is this product about? Is it improving a process? It is improving a service, or it is what is the value that it is getting, giving to the customer. And if customer is using it, how this product will be realized, how I can take it to the market, right? What is the duration of this? What is the cost that will be that I need to incur for this, right? Where I'm going to position it, I'm going to position this product to school-going students, college-going students, or people who are working in offices, or it would be CEOs who are running the company, or it is for people who are working in the farms. Or so we need to identify the target segment to that. Who is the buyer? Whether what is the purchasing power of that buyer, right? Will they buy a camera which is very costly, or will they perceive, if I keep it too low, whether they will consider this as a cheap product and they will not buy it? So you need to understand that also, what is going to be a target segment, and where will they buy? Will they buy online? Whether will they buy offline? Whether they go to big brick and mortar store? Whether they will go to a mall, or they will go to something like what Meesho is doing from your neighbor, right? So there are many things that you need to answer when you are creating a product, and once you answer that, definitely your product is going to succeed. Now, once you have all this, you need to get it either patented. You need to register for a trademark if you are having, maybe your corporate copyright, if you are writing a book, or maybe creating some innovative story, whatever it is, right? Similarly, if you are having a domain, what kind of domain you need to register, whether it would be .com, .in, or whatever it is, right? So all those things need to be defined as part of the process, as a part of your intellectual property. Now, once we have done is, we have created our MVP product. Now we need to take this product to the test market. Now when we take it to the test market, there are various scenarios that we do as part of it. You might be seeing that there are a lot of test campaigns that keeps on happening, right? So what generally happens in this is, you identify the test market, right? You have the diffusion innovation, you have those testings, A/B testings, whether you make certain changes to look and feel and say, which one will you buy and all that. Then based on that, there are various iterations that happen, and then you implement those iterations and take it to the market. And if there is a failure, there is a test market containment, so that you don't lose your product, or it doesn't impact you in long run. So there's a containment strategy that you need to keep in place if your product doesn't succeed, right? Now, generally, you might have seen, it happens very common in Noida, Gurgaon, and Delhi. When a new car is launched, they generally hide it with a different kind of sticker, so that people don't realize what exactly is happening, right? For the performance testing of it, because what if it fails, right? So that the secrecy is maintained, right? So that is what we generally do as part of this process. Right now, this is a very interesting diffusion curve, which is basically generally, at what part of basically, it's a bell curve where innovations are in the initial start of it is innovation, and the people who are following it, or people who are lagging behind, they are on top on the later part of it, right? So there are certain people who are early adopters, there are certain who are late adopters, and then there's a majority who are very late. Now, in order to address this, there's a product life cycle also that happens, right? You might have all gone through the BCG curve, right? Where you have star, where you have cash cow, where you have your question mark and the dog. So at every segment of that, you need to have your product, so that there is a business continuity that keeps on happening. Let's take an example of Hindustan Unilever, right? They might be creating many products in terms of soaps, but there are certain soaps like Lux. These days you won't find various advertisement of that, because that is already giving them revenue, right? So they will be using the new entrants in the market. They will be focusing on that, so that becomes a cash cow sometime later. So that is how it all happens, right? Now we have seen the test marketing is done. Now comes the growth stage of it. Now you work on the expansion. Now expansion can be of various things. You can have a project expansion plan. The same thing, you want to diversify, right? You want to enhance the service component to it, right? Now you want to add, let's say, customer control center So maybe you want to integrate a customer telephony there, right? Maybe a call center that you want to have. You want to expand in terms of the multiple brands that you want to have, or you want to venture into a new territory, or you want to, position it to a new segment, or you are just going to expand your team, right? You have already expanded. Now you need to have more people who will be helping you with other things, right? Maybe let's say you want to set up a factory, or you want to have a training team, or you want to expand the board itself, or you now, since you have already expanded, now you need some bigger office space to do that. So there can be various expansion plans that we do as part of this expansion journey, and which is now this expansion plan is basically as part of our growth stage. Now we need more investment because now we are expanding, right? So we will be needing more investment, which is a series of things, right? We will be again going to the market. We will be again going to venture capitalists, capital to get that fund. Now, the earlier fund that we had got during the MVP, now the stake of the founders are further going to, get diluted, because now the people who will be funding, they will be asking for more equity in that, right? So it's a continuous process. So there's a series of funding where valuation of assets will happen. Investments basically will ask for additional, they will ask for the purpose why they want to do it. Investors will ask that, right? What is the ROI they will get? Only then they will invest. And what are the projections, how they see that this is a growth, if they are entering into the new market, or entering into launching a new product, or diversifying it. And that will lead to further dilution of the stake, right? I guess I'm over time, but is it possible that I can stretch it by 5-10 more minutes?
Yes, sir.
All right.
We are fortunate.
Thank you very much. So now what we have seen is the company which started with a small minimum viable product is now going to get expanded. They need more investments, and that is same pitch that we earlier saw. We need to have a pitch, but might be certain changes in that. That's now, since you are targeting a new market, all those things will get impacted, right? Okay. So now what we have seen is, from the series of investments, now things are happening to a corporate. We are moving towards corporatization of this entity that is getting formed. Now, when we say corporatization, we have earlier seen that the founding members were wearing multiple hats. They were working as HR, they were working as sales guys, they were working as product developers, they were donning various hats. Now, when we are moving towards corporatization, there will be specific fields for specific person. There will be an HR that will come into picture. There will be CSR responsibilities that they would be doing. There will be functional teams. There will be specific teams for sales, marketing, right? There will be a team who will be working on research and development and process improvements. Now, as part of that responsibility, they need to have a CSR, which will be helping on those activities. As part of this process, now you need to meet various statutory compliances also of the government, right? And there's an expansion plan that you need to have. So what we have done is, which started as a concept initially, now has traveled a lot. Now it has moved to a growth phase. And now once this growth phase is over, what will happen is they may go for initial public offering, right? Where they will be going to the market and asking for funds, because now they are huge, they have a big structure, they have expanded. Now they need more money. And from where they can get this money, they can get the money from the market. And that's what comes into the picture based on what is the capital requirement right now. As part of this, since you are going for IPO, you need to adhere to various statutory or government laws, right? Like in India, if you have, there are various laws that you need to have it, right? You need to first go to anchor investors who have faith in your vision, who are the initial investors who are going to invest in your idea, right? Those are your anchor investors. And now, then once you have that, you also go to institutional investors like, your banking, your finance, or your insurance companies, or your LIC, who will be funding to your idea or to your organization. Then they go to the retail investors, people like me and you, who basically get those shares and buy it from the share market, right? And once they have it, they discover a price band that they will be having this. It might be possible as part of this entire process that the IPO that they are launched, people might be thinking that there's a huge potential, more potential than what it was actually, aimed at. So there will be a gray market that will happen, and which will be buying the things in premium and selling it, right? And then there will be a share allocation that would happen. You will get listed in that, and that's how the entire process of secondary market will start. So now the company which started as a concept, which was there, we just started with an idea over a coffee shop or in the garage, has gone leaps and bounds from an idea with which converted into a minimum viable product to a full-fledged company. Now, once we have that, it reaches to a mature stage. So we have seen the concept stage, we have seen the expansion stage, we have seen the growth stage, and now to the mature stage. So this is a journey of a idea that started small, and there is a process that is there. Innovation doesn't happen just sitting silos. There is a structured process that is there, and we have to follow that process. You need to have there's a lot of process that and market research that you need to do as part of the process. There are various tools that you can do as part of your market research, right? You might have gone through a fishbone analysis, Pareto chart, and there are other applications also that you can use for that. And that is a continuous input that will keep on happening, and you keep on improving yourself in terms of your expansion plans, in terms of your product ideas, in terms of your diversification, in terms of the stakeholders that you are addressing. The lot of changes that is going to happen, and that's how you basically start and have a successful entrepreneur journey. As we started with, once you become an entrepreneur, you become an entrepreneur for the life. It is not that today you are entrepreneur, tomorrow you are not, because it is a change. It is a fundamental change that happens in the way you think, and that is what leads to a series of entrepreneurs. You might have seen a person who has started an organization, then he becomes a serial entrepreneur, because it is a journey that happens, right? And it is a very common thing. So once you are entrepreneur, you are entrepreneur throughout your life. The way you see the things, the way you perceive the things changes drastically, and that is what is the topic we wanted to cover. Thank you. Now we are open to questions.
Thank you so much, sir. Dear participants, if you have any question, you can ask. You just raise your hand. I will unmute you. Then you can ask. You can also ask by typing your question in the chat box. Meanwhile, very interesting session and very informative session, sir. You have talked about the basics of innovation, the types of innovation, the prominent innovations, early stage entrepreneurship. You have discussed and you have elaborated the market gap analysis, including SWOT analysis, the components of company formation, the pitch deck, their formats, the minimum viable product you have discussed. You have also discussed about the innovation diffusion as well as the series funding. So this was the very informative session. So I am again requesting our participant to be interactive, and you can ask your query by raising your hand. Or should I unmute you all?
You can, maybe I'll start with the couple of journal questions that I generally get as part of the process. Meanwhile, people will let them frame their questions. So one of the questions that
I generally... Vishal, you can ask. Sorry for the interruption, sir.
No problem.
Yes, because I have granted permission to unmute yourself. You can unmute yourself.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yes, sir. So my question is how to implement existing idea to the market, because many competitors are already in the market. So how to compete with them?
It's a Vishal, it's a very interesting question that you have asked. Very
Yes, sir.
relevant question. Thanks for this, because this will help others also. Now, you said that there are so many competitors there, right? You have an idea. Now, when you said this, you have an idea. This idea you would have got through market research, right? The problems that you face actually leads to the solution, right? Now, when you have this idea, the basic pitfall that what we have seen is people spend too much time in ideating the process, means in creation of that idea, rather than testing that idea. That is one thing. Second thing is, when we launch a product, it has to be niche in terms of, if you are saying that first it is you are trying to launch that product in a market where there are already too many competitors of that, right? So first thing is, what is that value that you are going to add the other customers are not going to provide? That is one thing. And once you are able to trap to that and you are taking that to the market, definitely things are going to get addressed for you. Let me give you an example. One of the challenge is, I stay in a gated community, right? Now, when I moved to Bangalore long time back, there was a issue that we used to face in terms of security lapses in our apartment, right? Now, when we say security lapses, wherever there is a challenge, there is a solution. And when there is a solution, that is basically it comes from an idea. How quickly you can respond to that challenge and take it to the market, get it tested, and start rolling out. There were companies who started in Bangalore. They rolled out security products. I'm not sure whether not many people might be knowing it, like MyGate and other similar kind of security products. They came just because of that. They were very quick in launching to the market, getting it tested, and how they test it. That is also very important. What are the price sensitivity of customers, right? Initially, they just rolled it. In fact, they asked my apartment just to start using it. When they started using it, they started with an MVP, which is minimum viable product. Now they have enhanced so many features in that I tend to use it if I have to make my payment for my apartment maintenance. If I have to pay for any other dues that I have to do, I have to pay for my electricity bill. So now that they are expanding, and that's how they are getting the funding also. So first thing is, like you said, the idea, but what is that unique thing that you are taking into the market? If you are taking which is not unique, what is the other thing that you can support? Are you having a lot of funds? So that you take that existing product, take it to the market, and start supporting it in terms of certain rebates. How long can you sustain? So it depends upon the kind of structure that you are having, or whether it is a totally niche thing, right? It can be you are. Let me give you an example. A lot many people have started using Practo, right? It was very niche. How they started it with just an idea, and there was a gap in the market. Now, if there are existing competitors, you need to be very sure what is the value that you are going to add. And if you are able to address that, there is no stoppage. Vishal, I hope that answers your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Wonderful. And that is another pitfall that we generally have. We tend too much to think on the ideation process and do not get it tested, do not get it vetted. And by the time, now see the things, what is happening is things are changing very fast. New channels are emerging very fast. Technology is on a burst. Every day there are companies that are getting closed. Every day there is a new company that is getting formed, right? So first mover advantage will always be beneficial, but along with other strategies. It is not that you are first mover advantage You need to have a sustainability option also, sustainability model also. You need to have certain revenues that you need to come in. And that's why you need the venture capitalists who can support that. So it's a combination of process, and that's what is innovation all about.
Okay. Any other question? Any other question from the participant or faculty member?
If no question, then I'll share my experience.
Okay. Yes.
So what I do as part of my work is, as you have already told, I will look into the innovation. Now, first thing that customer asks me is, these days every customer is price sensitive, right? They don't want to spend even a single rupee extra. So, and that is, the price is what is changing the dynamics these days, right? Now, they ask, if I'm spending this much, what is the value that I'm getting? Now, when they say what value they are getting, there is always something that you need to either improve your product, or you improve your process, or you reduce your cost in terms of automation. Now, automation is a key here. Now, when we say automation, the process that earlier used to take, let's say 6 months, if you are now able to do that in 2 months or 3 months, you are saving 3 months for the customer, which is a saving, right? So now you are improving the process through various things, right? You are automating the things. People are starting using how quickly you can go to the market. And that is what is the value that Vishal was earlier asking, that if I have certain product, certain idea, how I can take it to the market. So you have to have certain uniqueness in you, whether you are adding a value through your product, you are adding a value to through your service, or you are adding a value through a process, or you are totally niche that you are irreplaceable, right? Now, let's say somebody has to launch space rockets, so you want to launch your own satellites. Whom will you go? You will go to either ISRO, or you will go to NASA, or maybe Starlinks, right? Apart from that, you will not be going anywhere. So the competition is very limited. So for them, they are it. But if you want to do something which is, there are plenty of people like e-commerce space now in Bangalore. If I open my thing, there are plenty of things, and they give you a lot of discounts, right? So how you will be addressing, that's what is your value proposition that will help here. So with this, I would like to say one thing. It was very interesting talking to you guys. I wish you all the best. And the thing is, innovation is something that is, there is a fire that needs to be there in your belly. Once you have that fire in your belly, you will think like an entrepreneur, always and every time. And that is what is needed. And that is what this thing needs to spread. And all you guys, how many guys? 64 guys. I'm very much impressed. You were very patient listener. You asked interesting questions which helped others. I wish you all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. I would like to request our Dean Architecture to kindly facilitate our speaker with a token of love. Abhishek, sir. You are muted, sir.
So thank you, sir. It was great experience with you. And I think students must have learned some great things, and they will use it in future. So on the behalf of Galgotia University, we would like to thank you for your valuable time and experience, whatever you have shared with us. And I think you have covered all the maximum aspects of startup in your presentation. So as an appreciation, we would like to offer an e-memento for your effort and of appreciation. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for accepting And we have another two session more session with Samir sir. So with be touch in with I will also circulate the meeting link today tomorrow with the participants for the future session. So dear participant, I have posted the feedback link in the chat box. Kindly fill out the feedback, provide your opinion, how we can improve. If you have any query, you can also ask in that feedback form. So your feedback matter for us. So thank you and wish you a great learning ahead also. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much again for accepting our invitation and delivered such an informative talk.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.